Hey guys, so I thought I would just do a quick trade review. I've had quite a few requests to revisit this series, and I totally understand why, guys. I mean, if you can understand the way that I'm trading and break down the trades step by step, then that's sort of the best education I can give you past the educational videos. So yeah, this trade was taken on Solana. It was my biggest winner of December and one of my biggest winners of 2023 as well. And look, guys, it's one of the most basic trades. I mean, literally, we're talking about baby pips level of TA, and essentially, it's just a really good example and something I wanted to touch on because when conditions are hyper trending, then things do go into easy mode. Okay, and although we've seen a slight pullback across the board recently, if we do get this bull market that everyone's hoping for, and that I think we will, then things are going to go into hyper trending conditions again. Everything will flip into full bull, easy mode, just click green, etc., etc. And this is a very good example of what the trades can look like, how easy they can be, both in terms of analysis and execution and management. So yeah, a long position on Solana taken just before Christmas, and let's get into it. So we can see that Solana is clearly in uptrending conditions here. I've just fast forwarded the chart a little bit, just so we can see the price action that formed subsequently. And we can see that we're presented basically with this extremely basic baby pips level TA symmetrical triangle. Okay, so if you want to draw it something like this, I don't really adhere to using bodies or wicks in particular when it comes to drawing what's basically commonly referred to as meme lines. I just basically use best sense to try and just basically see what looks best on the chart and just sort of mark up my lines accordingly. Okay. So we have 15-minute bracketing conditions, price is range bound, going sideways, and now we can see it's also coiling up and getting, basically the length of the extensions is getting shorter and shorter. And basically what we're looking for is some sort of breakout, okay? And that's going to basically give us the next leg higher, right? So I'm just going to fast forward this chart a little bit so we can see exactly what played out, okay? So we can see we've basically got a touch to that bottom trend line here. Price has come up, failed again at the upper trend line, coming back down. And at this point, trade confidence for a breakout is getting higher and higher because the structure is just so clean. And this is just a note to say, sometimes if the structure is too clean, people have a tendency to look at it and go, "This is too easy," right? Now, that's a mistake I was guilty of for a very long time, okay? And just telling you from first-hand experience, if you're in a hyper trending market of, flavor of the month, hot coin, a popular asset of the time, and it's, it fits right within the current market conditions, if it looks very easy, then it probably is very easy and very simple, okay? So that's basically the overarching message of this video. Don't overcomplicate things. Yes, if we're in sort of undecisive range bound conditions, then sure, you can basically put more argument on the table for a fake out. But in trending conditions, it's a breakout until it's not a breakout. Okay, so anyway, we're eyeing up this setup for a long position. Obviously, if we get the breakdown and we breach this lower trend line, then that long position is off the table. But for now, we're just monitoring. Again, we get a bounce again on that lower trend line. And look, guys, at the moment, we basically got whatever you want to call it, 3 taps to the top, 4 taps to the bottom. Okay, structure is super clean here. And at this point, I took 50% installment. Okay, so on this candle close, I took 50% installment. And you may be thinking, okay, if your sole time frame for execution is the 15-minute, then why aren't you taking full installment on that candle? And the reason being is because I've traded these many times, and although I'm sort of, advocating the narrative of if it is that simple, then it's that simple, I'm also expecting some degree of manipulation. I'll use that word because I can't swear on here. But I'm expecting it to not be exactly smooth sailing. So yeah, it was 50% on that candle, and glad I did so, because what happened next was obviously this red candle here, which I went pretty hard on this position, so obviously I'm monitoring it like a hawk. And if this was full size, then this sort of fake out candle, whatever you want to call it, may have shaken me out of position to a degree, maybe partially out of position, but it didn't, because I took 50% on this first candle, expecting some sort of manipulation to occur, whatever you want to call it. And now we can see what followed was basically this reclaim candle here, which essentially put the trade back on the map fully. So took 50% on this first candle close here, then sat through this as I took. So let's just mark this up. So the first installment was taken on this candle close here. When I did so, I had a hard stop. I always use hard stops, okay? So I had a hard stop basically at the base here of this trend line. Oh. So that's basically what my first 50% installment looked like. And then as I took 100% on this, my average was probably something like this. And I tightened the stop up as well whilst scaling in that 50%. Essentially to just squeeze in even more size. So although I did place a hard stop and I had a hard stop, my stops are usually evolving, okay? So they'll sort of, trail up on the price action as we go along. And yeah, managed to squeeze in a really nice amount of size on this trade as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and play from here, and you can see that basically from here we just get no retest to the trend line here. We just get a huge impulse candle, another impulse candle again, and yeah, at this point the trade is in a really good stead. So I've just fast forwarded ever so slightly, just a few candles ahead, and we can see that basically this was the first sort of point I was considering either closing the position or taking some off the table. Now, I didn't do so. The only reasoning I had to consider it was basically this diverging structure here, okay? So you can see the RSI here against the candle bodies. The candle bodies are making higher highs and the RSI is making lower highs. The reason I didn't take anything off is because the awesome oscillator didn't look too bad, okay? So basically we're looking at this period here to here, and essentially that just looks like a fresh high being made on the awesome oscillator, okay? Nothing too concerning at all. And I stated, I basically made a thread about this on Twitter, and I stated that also I had some sort of bias in this trade as well, because this was just before Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve and 2 days before Christmas, and I basically had in my head that family members would shill to their loved ones and say this is the next Ethereum. And that was sort of driving my motivation to stay in the trade a bit. I thought I'd just mention that, although it's very, very, very rare I let anything fundamentally affect the trade and its sort of path and performance management, etc. But yeah, that was in the back of my mind. But still, you can see there's no real reason to take this off based off the price action and what the oscillators are saying. I think maybe if the Christmas thing wasn't involved, I may have taken a partial take profit here. But I held long and strong, and we can just see what continues to happen here. Okay, so now we get an extremely strong impulse candle here. Putting the trade in an incredible position, okay, and I closed shortly after, okay, so it was this candle here, this red candle, where I closed the trade. So as this candle closed, I closed the trade out. Yes, you can see we went slightly higher. The reason I did so is because now we have a much more apparent divergence structure. Okay, so you can see that, you know, from the candle bodies here, we've now got that sort of divergent structure forming on the awesome oscillator. And we also had it, where are we? Across, yeah, the RSI here as well. Okay. So, you know, now we've got double confirmation of a bearish divergence on the time frame that we executed the trade off the back of. So yeah, although the trade went slightly higher, this was a huge position for me in terms of the P&L, the management, and the R in the end was 8.2. Not my biggest, of course, but, you know, still very happy with an 8.2 R trade. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. It's a short video here, just to touch on you know, how easy things can be. So if you're struggling in the market at the moment, and you know, you're flip-flopping trades, you're grinding down an account and not performing to your best, then, you know, just wait. Just take some time off, keep monitoring the charts to see when conditions do go back to these sort of conditions. But, you know, I do believe that, you know, if we get this bull run, then things will flip into straight easy mode, and you'll be able to essentially trade triangles like this and breakouts. Because although this sort of price action seems like a bit of a fantasy, it does occur, okay? And, you know, it's something that I had to sort of teach myself as well, that context is king, okay? So normally, as per my system, I would need, you know, to size in like I sized in here, I would need, you know, heavily confluence setup, okay? So we're talking about, you know, multiple trade factors and thesis and systems coming together to bolster an argument, which, you know, I can say, okay, we've got all these different things that are lining up. It's incredibly rare that this happens. And, you know, I've detailed that in the confluence video, if you guys have watched that in the technical analysis series. But this is just a counter to that, and an important one as well, that sometimes things, if they seem that easy, they can be that easy. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know any feedback in the comments below, what you'd like to see coming up in future videos. And yeah, happy trading.